But I have to come back to the free speech idea, because I think that whole idea of the intellectual dark web, and this came up a couple of times at your event on Thursday, is predicated on the idea that you have been marginalized for your opinions or oppressed for your opinions.
It's not predicated on my claim of that.
Right. It's predicated on...
Well, I don't know. I'm not claiming I've been marginalized. I would never use that word, first of all. That's for sure.
So, but the idea of a dark...
I don't feel oppressed.
Good. I'm pleased to hear it. But I do think that the way that you got the cheers from that crowd was very much about, there was an idea of taboo breaking, right? That oh, this is a microaggression, but I'm going to say it anyway, that, you know, hard work is the way to succeed. And I thought that was fascinating, because to me you don't look like somebody who has particularly suffered an outrageous amount for your opinions. People have certainly disagreed, they've been rude, they've in some cases...
The only reason I haven't suffered an outrageous amount for my opinions is because I've handled the consequence of their utterance exceptionally well. My job was at risk, my career was at risk, my family stability was at risk. So I wouldn't push that one too far.
In what way was your job at risk?
Jesus, last year 200 of my fellow faculty members signed a petition to get me fired. That was only one of a dozen things that happened. The university wrote me 2 letters, 2 cease and desist letters from their HR departments with their legal staff. 3 of those and you're done. They just fired Rick Maida in Canada at Acadia University for talking about many of the same things that I've talked about. So the fact that I've come through this relatively unscathed has very little to do with the vitriol of the attacks. There was plenty of motivation to take me out. It just didn't work. Right.
And I think the fact that it didn't work, to me, makes me ultimately optimistic about where we are, because
Why?
Because I went on, I did a panel a while ago with Zarganara, a Burmese comedian who was imprisoned for making a joke, right? And we are not yet at that stage. I think, undoubtedly,
We're not. We're damn close.
Really?
How about the guy with the pug in the UK?
Count Dankula.
That's the one.
Right, but he did actually, I mean,
That was a joke. You might not have liked it. I didn't say it was a good joke. I didn't say it was an appropriate joke. I didn't say any of that. I didn't say it was a well thought through joke. But it was a joke.
Yeah, I just fundamentally don't believe that it was a joke. I believe that it was camouflaged as a joke, and that's what it kind of comes across.
Right.
And
well, that's exactly what you would believe if you were inclined to persecute comedians.
No, I'm not inclined to persecute someone.
Well, you're inclined to persecute him.
I don't think he's a comedian, and I don't think... I would have to go and look at the circumstances of that case, but I think
he didn't like his girlfriend's pug and thought he would teach it to do something reprehensible as a joke.
Right, but I see you getting involved, say, tweeting Douglas Murray's article about Tommy Robinson, and I think you see that as a free speech issue, and that's not how I see Tommy Robinson's case at all. I see that as contempt of court, someone who endangered a grooming trial. How do you see that case?
I see it as very fortunate that Tommy Robinson didn't die in prison.
I think I would say that about a lot of people in prison. I think it's very hard to be in prison if you are a sex offender, for example. I think our British prisons are less inhumane than American prisons, but they're still brutal places to be. However, I do think that was an appropriate punishment for somebody who tried to collapse a grooming trial.
Huh?
But are you? And I guess are you a prison abolitionist?
No.
Oh right, okay. So you do believe that some people there are offences for which people need to go to prison.
Why would you ask me a question like that?
Well, I'm just
do I look
interested.
like someone who isn't interested in meting out appropriate punishment?
No, but I just thought maybe I was made an assumption about you, and I didn't want to make an assumption about you. I'm just going to end with a quick fire round. So I know that this is YouTube, so we have been able to talk for a really long time, but I just want quick answers from you. Who is your favourite author?
Dostoevsky.
Who's your favourite female author?
Margaret Lawrence, I think.
I don't know her.
She's a Canadian author. Kind of an antidote to Margaret Atwood in my estimation.
Okay. When did you last cry?
Oh God, who knows? Last week, probably.
Who is your smartest opponent?
Sam Harris is pretty smart.
Because you've had debates about atheism with him and about rationality. And
Yeah, I don't really regard him exactly as an opponent, you know. I mean, we disagree on things. I don't really tend to think of people as opponents, generally. I mean, but Harris is, you know, Harris is smart. He's good at making his case. So that's been interesting.
What big question don't you know the answer to?
What big question don't I know the answer to? Oh God, that's a tough one. There's so many of them. Well, personally, it's what I should do in 2 years.
When did you last change your mind about something important?
I'm changing my mind about things all the time.
But
Every time I do a lecture, I change my mind about something.
But something important, something big.
Oh, well, I can tell you. I mean, one thing I've learned in the last 2 years is that I think I overestimated. There's an obesity epidemic in North America, perhaps throughout the Western world. I think I overestimated the degree to which that was a consequence of a sedentary lifestyle, and overestimated the degree to which a lack of discipline was contributing to it. I think much more now that it's an illness.
Those are two different things though, aren't they? Discipline is self-control and illness is something out of your control.
Well, let's say you're overweight, you should exercise. It's like, well, actually the evidence that exercise will thin you down isn't that great. And maybe the reason that you're not exercising is because you're ill, not that you're ill because you're not exercising. So I have a lot more sympathy for the hypothesis that the obesity epidemic is actually a consequence of an illness, of a broad scale. Illness isn't exactly right. It's a dietary problem, fundamentally. And there are deep causes for that.
Are you still eating your all beef diet?
Unfortunately, yes.
Really just beef? Not, can you have like ketchup on it?
Nothing. Right. Yes, it isn't something I would lightly recommend. It's a little hard on your social life. It makes traveling quite difficult, and it's dull as hell. But
what has it done for you?
Well, I lost 50 pounds in 7 months. I stopped snoring. I had some autoimmune conditions that seem to have gone away. I'm not taking antidepressants. My mood isn't perfectly regulated, but I'm under a fair bit of stress, so that might have something to do with it. I sleep much less. I can work more.
I imagine
I
your
don't have
arteries
GERDs.
might not be in
I don't
great shape.
I don't think there's any evidence that I don't think we have any idea what causes arteriosclerosis. I think all of the dietary knowledge we have is rubbish. And partly because it's unbelievably difficult to do proper dietary studies. You can't do controlled studies. It's all correlational. And there's so many variables. I think the correlational studies are useless. So, also this all meat diet, this all beef diet has apparently cured my daughter. So,
who had
and that
juvenile
seems,
rheumatoid arthritis?
well, that was the original diagnosis, and it was idiopathic, which means we don't know what the hell's causing it. Yeah, but she's completely symptom-free. So that sort of thing makes you sit up and take notice because it doesn't make any sense.
When was the last time you lied? Because the book says no lying. Do you still lie?
Everybody lies.
As Dr. House himself told us. What is most
But
important?
I'm pretty damn careful about it.
What is most important to you in life?
Not being stupid.
How would your life
Not making foolish mistakes. Not being incautious. Yeah.
That's tough on yourself.
Life's tough, man.
Right. How would your life have been different if you'd been born female?
Multiple orgasms.
It's not a bad one. What's your biggest regret?
That I didn't take advantage of the opportunity to learn to play the organ when I was 7.
If that's your biggest regret, that's going to be a great deathbed. Because that's...
Yeah, well,
that's a
you
minor
know,
one.
it would have been better for me if I would have been a better musician.
And finally, how would you like to be remembered?
As someone honest.
Dr. Jordan Peterson, thank you very much.